Busy day surrounding the Miami Dolphins. Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel made a pair of roster moves, plus a ton of injury news and roster news that we have to get to. I am Nick Roloff. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. The pair of roster moves Miami made was on the practice squad. They added 2 offensive linemen to their 16-man P squad, and it's actually upgrading to 17. Kadeem Telfort, a Miami native, and Roy Maybatika, I don't know, I apologize, but he is the one that is a part of the International Pathway Program. We're going to call him Big Roy on today's show. You'll understand why in just a bit. We'll get to his size profile, but make sure you are subscribed to the channel because, 1, we bring you news every single day and break down practice squad signings. 2, we're playing the Jets in Week 4, and we're losing our Week 4 sub battle. These numbers come in from Monday. Jets report picked up 27 subs on Monday. Dolphins today only got 23. Hit that sub button. Join the channel. Let's take down the Jets. We're going to start with Kadeem Telfort here. This is a Miami, Florida native. He actually attended Booker T. Washington High School. He had quite an interesting collegiate career. He started at Florida in 2017, then goes to community college for 2018 and 2019, 2 separate community colleges, but then transfers back to Division I, plays at UAB from 2020 to 2022. So if you are doing your math correctly at home, yes, he played collegiate football from 2017 to 2022 and was a UDFA in the 2023 NFL Draft. And he spent the last couple of years with Green Bay, was on their practice squad in 2023 and 2024, was actually on the active roster a couple times for Green Bay last season, was with them this past offseason, but was ultimately released on final roster cutdown day by the Packers and was not claimed and added to any other practice squad after being released. He actually played in 23 snaps, by the way, for Green Bay last season. He's a big guy. He's 6'7", but he played guard a ton at the last level. And that is what he actually did for the Packers in the preseason, as well as when he played in the regular season. He played guard. You just don't usually find 6'7" offensive guards, but hey, that's where they had Kadeem Telfort. And this maybe is a sneaky signing on the practice squad because if you look at what Telfort did in the preseason for the Packers, he graded out really nicely. Appeared at all 3 games, played at least 30 snaps in all 3 preseason games for Green Bay, had an 80 pass blocking grade, 78.5 run blocking grade, only allowed 2 pressures, 0 sacks. So Kadeem Telfort actually put up relatively solid numbers in terms of PFF grades during the 2025 preseason. Never know, maybe he latches on and gets elevated to the game day roster one time for the Miami Dolphins. The other one is Big Roy. I mentioned earlier that he is part of the International Pathway Program, and this allows Miami to add him to the practice squad without having to release someone from the P squad. You get that 17th extra guy. He is originally from Nigeria. He has been the IPPP player for other practice squads. He's bounced around since 2022 with the Giants, the Bears, the Browns, the Cardinals. I called him Big Roy because he's 6'8", 344. That is a big fella, folks. And I tried to see if he played in the preseason at all this year for Arizona, the team that he was on for the August portion of the year. He only appeared in 3 snaps. So this is clearly a couple of moves Miami has made for depth at their offensive line position on the practice squad. I don't know if this signifies something else that's on the horizon, but when you add 2 offensive linemen on the same day to your practice squad, there is clearly motivation behind that. Maybe it's a delayed return from Liam Eichenberg or Andrew Meyer. We'll get to Eichenberg a little bit later on here. And that's kind of where we're segueing into right now. We're going to take a look at some Dolphins injury news as well as some other roster news. We'll start with injury news on cornerback Storm Duck. Mike McDaniel announced on Monday afternoon that he is going to be out for Monday Night Football against the New York Jets. Now, if you are keeping track at home, this is the 3rd straight game that Storm Duck will be inactive, which means he should be back for Week 5 against the Carolina Panthers. Why do I say that? Well, with this being the 3rd game missed, he suffered that injury in Week 1 against the Colts. If the Dolphins felt as if he was going to be inactive for 4 games, you would have imagined they would put him on IR to free up a roster spot for them to add to their 53-man roster for the 4 week Storm Duck would be gone. So with him missing this week, well, they're going to probably bring him back in week 4 because if they aren't, then they made a grave mistake not putting him on IR, which I'm not putting it out of the question because this Dolphins organization is incompetent at times. But regardless, I'm very curious to see what Storm Duck's role is going to be when he is elevated back to the active roster next week, because Rasul Douglas has been your best corner to this point. Jack Jones played extremely well in the second half against the Bills. It's really been the only time he's performed well. Struggled in the other previous 2 games in first half, but played one heck of a second half against Buffalo. So I don't know if Storm Duck's going to come in and just be the starter like he was in week 1 against the Colts. I feel as if right now Miami's best bet is probably sticking with Jack Jones and Rasul Douglas as your 2 boundary corners. It's not good options for Miami, but unfortunately I think those are the 2 best ones the Dolphins have to choose from. But what say you? Should Storm Duck start when he returns from injury, hopefully next week against Carolina? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Let me know your thoughts. The aforementioned Liam Eichenberg, he is not close to returning. He was placed on the PUP list before training camp began. He was kept on the PUP list when the Dolphins were forced to make a decision at the end of August, and he is not going to be returning anytime soon. He would have been eligible to return following week 4 and been able to get elevated to the active roster in week 5 against Carolina. But Mike McDaniel said that Eichenberg's injury is chronic. It's on his lower body. It's not really specified what that injury is. We just know it is from the waist down. And chronic is a little bit scary here, folks. It's hard to really say that. And excuse me, by the way, we're going to show the depth chart here. We know Austin Jackson is on IR. He is not the starting right tackle. But I just wanted to show this to highlight the lack of depth for this Dolphins offensive line, specifically on the interior. Jonah Savaiinaea has been the worst offensive lineman in football, according to Pro Football Focus. Keon Smith has been the starter, but got benched halfway through the game for Daniel Brunskill in week 3 on Thursday Night Football. And I do find it kind of ironic, no? Like, we all wanted Liam Eichenberg gone from this organization because of how bad he has been in his first 4 years in the league. The Dolphins re-sign him. We all get upset and complain about that. But it is kind of hilarious, if not cruel, that I think all of us would be happy if Liam Eichenberg was able to return. Because, let's be real, he would be better than Keon Smith. He would be better than Daniel Brunskill. It's crazy to admit this, but man, maybe we treated Liam Eichenberg a little bit too harshly. And I'm not saying that because I would be fine with him being a starter. That is not the case. But as a backup that could start if a guy like James Daniels got hurt, yeah, that would have been pretty ideal to keep him around. They obviously did keep him around, but he's just not healthy. More coming here, but this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day. Well, the right decisions on Prize Picks can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks puts their users first. All withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your football or into your account this football season. They also offer injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks won't count it as a loss. Have an entry for the early Sunday game, less than Jonnu Smith receiving yards, more than Jordan Mason rushing yards. Pairing that up with the max discount, more than Jalen Hurts half a passing yard. You can take advantage of that max discount right now on Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Another piece of news here. Darren Waller. He is expected to return and make his Dolphins debut this Monday night at home against the Jets, but he is going to be on a snap count. When asked about Waller and how he will be used in his debut, Waller will be on a situational snap count or package rather than unleashing him. That is what Mike McDaniel ultimately said. And shout out to my guy Isaiah, who covers the team for the Herald. He mentioned that Waller did individual ran routes and caught passes from Tua during the Dolphins practice on Tuesday. I don't know why he said September 28th. It is September 23rd. But either way, the news on Waller remains the same. And I am going to be honest here. It'll be interesting to see how he is used. I forecast Darren Waller being used primarily in the red zone because when Mike McDaniel has talked about Waller, he always mentions his ability to be and create mismatches in short yardage situations, be a big catch radius for Tua in the red zone. So if I am going to expect to see Waller, I think it's mostly going to be on obvious passing down situations, maybe like a 3rd and 5, a 3rd and 7, or in the red zone. I just don't expect him to play more than 20 snaps in this game, but you get to see him in the red zone as a potential mismatch on a linebacker or safety, get to see him on obvious passing plays. That's what I would expect from Darren Waller, and he certainly would be a nice addition considering how poor the tight ends have been so far in the passing game. Julian Hill and Tanner Conner have been nothings. Jonah Savaiinaea. I mentioned earlier in the video that he has been the worst graded offensive lineman in all of football for the Dolphins so far this year. Well, reporters asked McDaniel if there would be consideration of moving him from left guard to right guard or right tackle with James Daniels and Austin Jackson still out with injuries. Well, McDaniel didn't shut it down completely, but said if there were things happening to him that I thought it would be alleviated by playing on the right, I would absolutely do that. Both his good plays and his bad plays at this point, the way he's gone at it, we haven't measured a side issue, which is why we haven't thought to do that. Well, the reason why I bring this up and wanted to talk about this, because at college, that is what Jonah did. He was on the right side. If you remember, as a freshman or his first year starting at Arizona, he played right tackle in about 600, 700 snaps. His second year, he played exclusively right guard, 985 snaps. And then his final year at college, he split time about 200, 300 snaps at right tackle and 345 snaps at left tackle. So the point I'm trying to make is that he, coming out of college, was labeled as a versatile offensive lineman. Play tackle, he could play guard, and play either side. But he does have more experience playing on the right side. Do the issues Savaiinaea is having have to relate with him switching to the left side, or is it the up in competition, up in size, up in athleticism with the NFL? That's a mystery that remains to be solved. But I'll say this. Austin Jackson, your starting right tackle, who's on the second year of a 3-year deal worth $12 million per season. He missed half the year last year with an injury, missing 4 of the first 5 games this season for Miami. If he returns off of IR in week 6 against the Chargers, gets hurt again, I would consider moving him to right tackle. And that is me referring to Jonah Savaiinaea, because I believe Miami should start looking to move off of Austin Jackson. I would not keep him beyond his current contract because he has proven time after time after time he is incapable of staying on the football field. So you have to find your new blindside protector for Tua at right tackle. But you'll also be finding your new offensive tackle on the right side for the future of your next franchise quarterback because you're probably moving on from Tua over the next couple of years. Well, Jonah played 1,000 snaps at college at right tackle, and I know that he was projected to be a guard in the NFL, but with him struggling at left guard early in his career, you have to wonder if Jackson goes down again this season and misses time, would Miami consider moving him to right tackle, where he played 1,000-plus snaps at college, giving him a shot to see if that's his real position in the NFL? It's certainly an idea that can't be thrown away right away. It just can't be. But you be the coach. Should the Dolphins look to move Jonah Savaiinaea from left guard to either right guard or right tackle? I think I would probably lean stay for now with Daniels and Jackson returning in a couple of weeks. But if any one of those two get hurt and Jonah continues to struggle at left guard, I think you got to seriously consider moving him to either right guard or right tackle. Final piece of news we got to discuss today, Riley Patterson, the kicker who has been on the practice squad for Miami for the first 3 weeks of the year and is out of practice squad elevations. Remember, you only get 3 per player on the practice squad. He is going to be joining the 53-man roster. McDaniel said that on Monday that he will be signed to the 53-man for week 4 against the Jets. Now, I do want to make this clear. It is not official as of yet. They would have to obviously put a player on IR or waive a player. in order to make room for Patterson on the 53-man. And I know it's just for 1 week, so I can understand it, but it kind of makes me a little bit interested that they wouldn't just find a different kicker for 1 week. Like, you sign someone to the practice squad and then elevate him for week 4, and then Jason Sanders is eligible to return for week 5 against Carolina after his 4 weeks on the IR stint is over, hopefully. I understand that Patterson's been really good, 6 for 6 on extra points, 2 for 2 on field goals, 40 yards and 44 yards. It is pretty interesting that there's only been 2 field goal attempts for the Dolphins through 3 weeks. It's got to be, honestly, the lowest in the NFL. A lot of punts, a lot of going for it. But the point is, he's been good for Miami through 3 weeks. So I get wanting to keep him around, but I also have to question, are we going to release a player that probably should be kept on the roster just to make room for Riley Patterson? We'll see when that roster move is officially announced. But when that is officially announced, we will have you covered. We had a lot of news to discuss today, 2 roster moves, bunch of other injury news, and that's why you subscribe to the channel, because you'll be the most up-to-date Dolphins fan possible if you are subscribed and have notifications turned on.